Tuesdays, happy hour is from 4 to 6.
Miss Kennedy, would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What address?
Shaken, not stirred.
Hold on. I'm not hearing it right. Hold on. We got it now.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh, God, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're going to drink, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Make it Suntory time.
Hi guys, sorry about that. I'm still working out some of the kinks here. I know I've done this this is the 9th episode, but you know, life is busy and sometimes you get caught up in things. And so thank you all for joining. This has been quite the weekend. Barbenheimer is still going strong. The numbers at the box office are wild. I had a feeling that kind of might happen just because if it was impossible for people to see either of those films last weekend, they either saw it during the week or saw them this past weekend, and the drop on those is absolutely crazy. I think it's only like 41% or 43%. It's like they're both in that range for both films. It's outstanding. I love seeing that, and it's really, really great. So I want to thank all of you for showing up today and stopping by. Have you all done Barbenheimer? Have you seen one or the other? Did you see either film more than once? I know quite a few people that saw Oppenheimer twice at least, and I think a couple people I know saw Barbie twice because they went with different people. And I went to the theater on Sunday and I saw the A24 film Past Lives. I think that's on its last week of being in the theaters. So I really wanted to grab it before it left. And I highly recommend it. I'm going to be doing a video on that at some point soon, just because I know once it hits streaming, you guys got to check it out. It's a masterful film, and A24 just did it again. And speaking of A24, I am going to be seeing Talk to Me on Thursday, and I will be seeing Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem on Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to those. Very cool stuff. I'm going to just check the chat real quick. So let's see here. And then my buddy John will be on around 5 o'clock. So love to have him on. And yeah, very excited. Whoops, I did not mean to skip this comment. Hello, Dimension Scott. I feel like you're always number one. And that's really nice of you and very kind. So thank you for showing up and saying hi. Oh, Tyler, yes. I was on a stream randomly. Stu Penzo has a channel, and Tyler was on the stream. And I was just in the comments, and they were like, do you want to hop on? So I was like, sure. So that was a really fun time. And I like going on to YouTube sometimes and just seeing what pops up as far as live streaming goes. And a lot of times I'll try to pop in the comments, and that was just a pleasant surprise. So I had a great time. What's going on, Luke? Hey, hope you're well. I am doing well. Yes, thank you. A lot of excitement. It's nice to see these films that are not. I realized all the movies I saw in July were non-superhero movies, and then I realized I might be actually in denial and that I do have superhero fatigue, and I didn't realize it. I used to say like, oh, but if the movie's good, then it doesn't matter, and we're just not getting good superhero movies. But I think I've realized that, yeah, it was just refreshing for the entire month to not see one superhero film. So I enjoyed the month of July tremendously. Hey, Holland, thanks so much. I hope you're doing well. You remember for once. Yeah, no pressure ever, too. Like, you guys are so nice. You don't ever have to feel stressed out um, of attending these for sure. That's not what it's for, but I'm happy you're here and it's nice to see you. Hello, yes. And he's saying hello to the chat, too, so everyone can say hi to Franco Walker. Scottish Geek Guy. Howdy, folks. Hello, hello. I've got a couple people saying hi here. Maxfield, my boyfriend, is always chiming in. Very nice to have his support. Yes, and the chat is full, chock full of cool people, Max. So that's true. So Oppenheimer twice, Barbie once. Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot. Who would have known a 3-hour historical rated R drama about the atomic bomb would have people begging to see it again? I mean, it's pretty fantastic. That's quite a feat in its own. Very happy to see that because yes, that movie was excellent, spectacular. Actually, I would say. Not seen either. I'm going to get Oppenheimer on DVD. Cool. Yeah. I mean, sometimes that works out better for people. I'm sure they'll do a nice 4K edition. I bet I'm curious to see what they'll do for the if the packaging, if they'll do anything special, because I would love that. I'm sure the Criterion Collection will probably put it on there as well. Everyone's saying hi. Also said talk to me, it's good. Review coming soon. Awesome. That's great. I'm really looking forward to it. I actually haven't seen a horror film in quite some time, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think the last one I saw, I could be totally wrong on this, but I think the last one I saw was Megan and Scream 6. So that goes to show you it's been a bit. And I think everything that A24 does is just phenomenal. So I'm really excited to see that in the theater. So yeah, they're actually the box office for that film is doing really well too. I learned today it was a $4 million budget. That's it. And it made $10 million this past weekend, I believe, if not, in the past week. And that's really, really outstanding. I'm telling you guys, the movies are back. Cinema is back. It is just, it's so thrilling to see these numbers and to see the audiences, they're attending. Really great. It was not the best news for the Haunted Mansion, but I'm not surprised. I still don't understand why they didn't release it in October. Thought that would have been a much smarter idea. I was gonna see it. I was gung ho about seeing it. I even talked about it last week, and now I'm gonna just wait to stream it because I heard it's disappointing. And I know that I think a movie like that probably disappoints even harder when you know how spectacular the ride is and how much they could have done with it. But yes, I did hear the that great actor from Get Out, I believe it's Lakeith Steinfeld. I might be pronouncing his name incorrectly. I heard he steals the show though and gives an incredible performance. But it's a shame that the entire rest of the film wasn't up to that caliber. Nice, yeah. Oh, cool. That's very cool. See, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to see it. I really trust Seth Rogen a lot, and I think he's really he's a really fantastic writer. He's a really great producer. The Boys is one of my favorite shows. I can't wait for season 2, and that spin-off show they just came out with. Well, it's not out yet, but they released the trailer for. That just looks so awesome. I think I can't wait to see that. I think that's really like the one thing on Amazon that I'm just like, that's why I'm happy to have Amazon, just because of The Boys. So I mean, what a show. Really, really. If you guys don't watch The Boys and you're actually into superheroes and stuff, watch it. It is like all of the R-rated stuff they could never do in a, standard Marvel DC film. The comedy is really dark. The violence is out of control, and it's also really, really smart. And there's a lot of fun still as well. I highly recommend The Boys on Amazon. Yeah, fantastic show. Everyone's saying hi. I keep getting calls from a no caller ID, and it's driving me absolutely crazy. I don't know if any of you guys ever have that experience. Yeah, Turtles Day tomorrow. Yeah, definitely excited for that. So, oh, awesome. Thank you so much for your support, Franco. Hard copy blues. Yes. I hope you know. Well, I don't know if I told you, but I did watch Magnolia. I rewatched it recently, so I'm like one movie away from doing a Paul Thomas Anderson video with you. So I'm very excited. Hard Copy Blues has a great channel. I recommend everyone in the chat check it out. Really great taste in film and really knowledgeable. And he is a huge collector. Has a gigantic collection. Really finds like great recommendations for things and or gives great recommendations for things. Yeah, just a really nice person too. So highly recommend his channel. And we will be doing a Paul Thomas Anderson video at some point very soon because I'm almost caught up there. Very excited to do that. I wonder if you've heard actually. I'm not aware of any new Paul Thomas Anderson projects. But if you know of one, Hard Copy Blues are in the chat. If you've heard any buzz about Paul Thomas Anderson's newest project that he's currently working on, I would love to hear about that because I just love him as a director. And Magnolia was like incredible on a rewatch. I mean, if you guys in the chat have not seen Magnolia, fantastic. And I have to say, like Tom Cruise was so good in that movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman, William H. Macy. I mean, the cast is just. I mean, all of Paul Thomas Anderson's cast are normally outstanding, but like this movie was so great on a rewatch. I'm so glad I chose to do that. Everyone saying hi again. Okay, Darth Loverboy turned loose. Hi, I've seen you in some of the comments in my videos. Very nice of you to say hi. I thought Barbie is a superhero that fights evil patriarchy. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean though. Like, because I even thought about how like Mission Impossible, which I saw, is kind of superhero-y. But I felt like from traditional superhero movies that we've had, it's been so overly saturated. It was a nice breather. So to see original works, even though it's based off an IP, I think it still counts. I think to me, it's like still someone with a very creative, unique vision, regardless if you like the film or not. I think the production design and all that stuff stands out tremendously. And I think like people want more of that. Driving and listening, smashed the like button. Oh, thank you, Hawkeye Heyoka Edits. I think I'm getting so much better with your name now, and I don't feel insecure about it because I think we've worked that out in the past, Hawkeye. So let's see here. Yep, we've got a bunch of people saying hi. Gave Oppenheimer 8 out of 10, Barbie 5. But I think that's a 5 out of 10. I personally, if I was doing my scores out of 5, so I would have to try to adjust for out of 10. I think I gave Oppenheimer a 4.5 out of 5, and then Barbie a 3.5 out of 5. I think that's kind of where I was with that, a 3 or a 5, a 3 or 3.5 on Barbie. The View with Drew. Cheers. Thank you so much. Hi. I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone's doing well. We had a huge heat wave recently, and it's kind of chilled out a bit. Not literally chilly, but you know what I'm saying? It kind of like calmed down, and you can finally like walk outside without not wanting to like just jump into the river, because that's what I've been wanting to do. But yeah, it's calmed down a little bit. Today's a little bit hotter than usual, but the past couple of days have been quite nice. I wonder how the weather is for all of you guys, but happy to have you all here, and I hope you're all staying cool out there. It is the end of we're getting to, today's August 1st. I can't believe we're already here. It's really, really crazy. Scottish Geek Guy gave Oppenheimer 8 out of 10, Barbie 5 out of 10, Talk to Me 7 out of 10, reviews of Barbenheimer up. Hoping to record Talk to Me review this evening once kids go to bed. I'll absolutely check out your reviews on that. I'm really enjoying the Barbenheimer reviews. It is such a phenomenal phenomenon. I think that's like a phenomenal phenomenon. But I genuinely, I'm just love seeing the enthusiasm for people going to the theater. And again, it's okay to be like, you can like things, you can be critical of things. I think that's totally fine. I think everyone that's seen my review knows that I was really fully on board with Barbie until the last quarter, the end, and that kind of spoiled a lot of it for me. But that being said, I really had a great time, and the theater was electric with everyone dressed up and everything, and it was a good time. I'm just happy to see people this excited to go back to the theater, because we all know superhero movies are not doing that currently. They're just not. So people want something different, and that's, I think, really at the end of the day, really great to see. Peggy, hello. Very nice of you to stop by. Happy to have you here. Yes, and Max is at work currently, but I'm sure we'll see your comments and probably say hi. He kind of goes in and out while he's at work, so thank you so much for joining us today, Peggy. Let's see. I like the boys, and I don't even like superheroes very much. So I'm so glad you said that. Your Cold Boyfriend, he has a great channel as well. Everyone check that out. Because the boys is so smart because of that very reason. Like, you don't have to be a fan of superheroes or superhero movies, anything like that, because it's so smart. Like, it's just its own thing. And you know that, like, I think there's a part of you too, like I said, that like when you're watching it, you're like, well, they would never put this in a traditional superhero movie because it is so over the top. It is kind of graphic, and you know, it is like a very R-rated. But the writing is so good on that show, and I can absolutely see why you would say that. Yeah, Luke, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I've been hearing pretty good things. So I don't think anyone's saying that it's bad, which I think is a good thing. I think like A24 films either really hit it out of the park, and then at like lowest, it was fine. Like, and I think that's okay. Like, I think it's really rare for an A24 film to be like, oh, it sucked or it was awful. I did hear a little bit about that with Bodies, 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 which I hadn't seen, but I know that was kind of a very people really kind of disagreed with that. Like, some people loved Bodies, Bodies, and then some people absolutely hated it. So I don't know, I'm blanking on the word right now. You guys all know what I'm saying, but so I don't even think I need to go further with that. But yes, I want to watch his review too on that. I'm not really watching any reviews until I see it, but I'm seeing it on Thursday, so I'll absolutely watch it after that. Yes, Cody, Doo loves movies. Love that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, don't forget to roundhouse kick that like button. That's Cody's like tagline. I for everyone's streams, and it's so nice of him, and he's, again, such a supportive and nice person. And check out his channel if you haven't. He just put out a review, and I did not watch it yet, but I'm going to watch it as soon as I can. I saw it pop up, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta watch this. So I will be watching your video very soon, I promise. It was on Barbie, I believe, because I always like his reviews are just so fun, and they put a smile on your face for sure. Okay, everyone, this is a question for everyone, so let's see what it is here. What's a movie where you felt a female character was treated and represented horribly? Okay, so like that's coming down with the writing. I mean, at the top of my head, this one's probably not even that bad, but I really don't care for the Amy Adams Lois Lane, the writing. But that's not even that bad of an example, I feel like, or that good of an example, I should say. I've just always had an issue with that. I think Lois Lane is like feisty, and like I didn't really get any of that spunkiness I was hoping for. And it's not Amy Adams' fault. I know that if that was written for her, she would have done it and pulled it off. So that would be like it, just off the top of my head. That would be one of my choices. I'd love to hear what people say in the chat though, because I'm sure I'm just blanking out, because I know there's some that I've recently yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll pop up. I'm actually, I'm gonna start this one, because some of these questions I'm gonna leave for John as well, because John's gonna join me. I think that'd be a good one for him. It's 105 here, but it's been like 117 to 120 the last couple weeks. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. I think you live in California, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm kind of blanking out on specifically where you live. But I feel like it was California. Been having a lot of heat here in upstate New York lately too. Probably nothing compared to what Cody's dealing with. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. Hard Copy Blues is also a New York person. That's yeah. So you totally get it. I'm just happy it's not humid. Yeah, we had some really bad humidity and it kind of dissipated. Thank God. Yes, Fritzky. Fritzky was my guest last week. People really enjoyed his conversation. So I would say definitely check it out. He's really knowledgeable. He is in film school currently, and he has a really great and unique taste in film. I really appreciate learning from him. And he's only 19, I believe, 20. Fritzky, I don't know. I think you're around that age. Correct me if I'm wrong, but either way, he's just filled with knowledge. So I love chatting with him. So Talk to Me in theaters. One scene had me squirming and looking through my hands. Oh boy, wow. Well, I'm looking forward to that happening on Thursday. That sounds really awesome, actually. Everyone's saying hi. Okay. Oh, thank you for joining. I don't. Oh, man, I'm gonna try to pronounce this. Proincias. Cassidy. Cassidy's like, I can pronounce that properly. Best Paul Thomas Anderson film. I think it is definitely. I mean, There Will Be Blood is just so outstanding. I would say it's between There Will Be Blood and maybe Magnolia. I don't know. I mean, I love Boogie Nights, but like Boogie Nights to me is like a watered down version of Paul Thomas Anderson, like weird. Like it's not a weird film, at the end of the day. And I think that like sometimes Paul Thomas Anderson's like weird stuff is the stuff that I find interesting. But I love Boogie Nights. So me saying that is not really a detriment to Boogie Nights. But like that's kind of like a point A to point B film that's done really well. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna say There Will Be Blood, just because I think the craftsmanship of that movie is really out of this world. Jessica Alba didn't do a bad job as Susan Storm in the Fantastic Four movies, but I feel like they treated her like eye candy with that bridge scene. So I actually I don't think I saw the sequel to that, and if I did, then I don't remember it quite well. I do remember seeing the original one, the first one. And a lot of that cast, I think, was really. I think everyone was pretty well cast in that film. I really liked the main guy too, and I forget his name. And now I'm blanking out on the character as well. I was in such a Fantastic Four mode recently because of all the casting theories, and now I'm blanking out on everyone's name. But I do think that first Fantastic Four film, and obviously the casting's the same in the second one, but I'm just referring to the first one just because I don't really remember the second one that well. I think the casting choices were really actually pretty spot on for that. There Will Be Blood, Punch Drunk Love, and Magnolia are also masterpieces. So I know for a fact that, well, see, and this is maybe it's because it's your age. I feel like if I had seen Punch Drunk Love when I was younger, it would have had a bigger impact on me. Some people say it's their favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie, so I don't blame you for saying that at all. I just felt underwhelmed when I saw it eventually. So, and I saw it like later in life. I saw it like 5 years ago, I think, maybe 6. So, but again, it's really subjective at that point. But yeah, I agree. There Will Be Blood and Magnolia are absolute masterpieces. And I'm actually gonna I think I started that question because I'm definitely gonna. No, I didn't. I didn't. So we're gonna ask John this too when he comes on. What his perhaps his favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie, since that's been a big question in the chat right now. I'm gonna have him on in just a moment, and yeah. So we will. Oh, we've got so many people showing up. That's fantastic. So I'm going to get this started, and here we go.
You guys, happy hour is from 4 to 6.
Miss Kennedy, would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What a
Shaken. not stirred.
I'm not hearing it right. Hold on. We got it now.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh, God, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're going to drink, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Make it Suntory time.
That's actually really good. Oh, are you muted or can I just not hear you on my side?
Oh no, sorry, that was my bad. I apologize. I had
Okay.
my mic off.
I was
I
gonna
just-
say, oh no.
Oh, I know.
What's going on?
Oh, doing well, doing well. I hope you enjoyed that intro and the
That's really
the-
good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I probably add to it more, just getting more scenes from films where they're having drinks and things like that. I love the Bill Murray Suntory ad. Like that gets me every time.
Yeah, yeah, I was like sitting there, I started like figuring out which movie was which, like going back to it. Nice.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks for showing up and stopping
course.
by. And we have a very active chat right now. And we have a few questions that I will probably address momentarily.
Okay.
Yes. I think the one that I'm going to let you like kind of marinate with, because I had a response that I felt like was just like rushed off the top of my head. I'm going to bring this one back really quick. And it was what's a movie where you felt a female character was treated and represented horribly? So if you need time to think about it, that's totally okay. 'Cause I
So
can
is
always
it is it like a character that was supposed to be good and wasn't, or just a
I think
character that
so.
was just treated poorly in the movie in general?
So I thought about that too, and I think it's that it was just a really poorly written character.
Oh, well, I mean, all right. So the joke on my channel is that She-Hulk was poorly written and not conducive to what she could have been, but that's too easy. So I won't do that one. But you know who wasn't treated as well? Actually, no, I was gonna say from Oppenheimer, but I guess she did do a good job. I was gonna say Emily Blunt in terms of, but that's the movie treating her badly. She wasn't a bad in it. That's
Right.
a harder question, I think.
It is hard. So we can come back to that, and we can let that
Yeah.
marinate a little bit as I go back to the chat briefly.
But my superhero one is She-Hulk. She was represented poorly, and I think that did not help with how she was written when there was so much potential there.
Yeah, mine was Lois Lane with Amy Adams, and that's just because I
Yeah.
wanted her to be a little bit more feisty and spunky, and
Yeah,
know,
the way Lois
so.
Lane should be, as we know her to be. Yeah, that's fair.
Yes. We will go back to let's see here. There's a lot. We were talking about Paul Thomas Anderson and his
okay.
best films. I'm sure you're a fan. Even if they're not all winners, I mean, I think they're for the most part all pretty good films.
Yeah,
so
yeah, all have a unique. I'd say each one of them is pretty unique.
wow, this chat is going crazy today. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I would say okay. So we'll just leave this back up again. So, I was saying my personal, like, I think that There Will Be Blood is probably my favorite.
That's gonna be most people's favorites. I think if you had to skip that one though, because that's kind of like an obvious one. What would like your second be?
I think it might be Magnolia, but I might just be biased because I just rewatched it.
Okay.
So that might be the thing. And Phantom Thread grew on me a lot after a second viewing because that is a weird movie.
So mine would actually be mine might actually be Boogie Nights.
Okay, yeah, it's a
If,
really good
like,
movie.
yeah, thinking about it, because like that's like, yeah, Punch Drunk Love, Mike. No, but I think Boogie Nights really, because I saw that. Did I see that when that came out? I was a kid when I first saw it, and then I ended up watching it later on as an adult. But 98, I believe, was when
Yeah.
that came out, or 97. But yeah, I watched that. I had a lot of people in there. I think
Oh
that
my
was the
god.
first time I ever saw Don Cheadle. The first time I ever saw John C. Riley. I think
Hmm.
William Macy's in it. Burt
Yes.
Reynolds. Like, there's the cat Julia Moore is in it. The cast is crazy in that.
If you watch it now, you're like John C. Riley and Philip Seymour Hoffman were like babies in that
Right.
movie. It's
Right,
crazy.
and then it's the launch. Would you say that's the launch of Mark Wahlberg right there? Like, the what really
Absolutely.
kind of.
I think so.
So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's a good one. That would
Yeah.
be mine.
It's really good. And I said earlier, because I don't want the chat to be confused on my opinion, I said that I do gravitate sometimes more towards like the weirder Thomas Anderson movies just
Hmm.
because I feel like I just want to like analyze it to death and try to figure it out because sometimes they get very crazy. And that's one of his most, I think that is might be his most straightforward film. As far as like narratively, but it is still like a fantastic movie. So
Yeah.
great choice. Let's see. Okay,
I think.
this is for you, John. Actually,
Oh,
your four favorite first time viewings of July. That's tough.
hmm.
This chat's
July.
tough.
So I'm assuming we're talking movies, right? First time viewing movies.
Yes.
Then I guess I get all right. So Barbie's an obvious one.
Hmm.
Oppenheimer is an obvious one. So my second two here might not be as. They cloned Tyrone, which I literally saw last weekend. Really good first
I heard
time.
it's
Like,
great.
I really enjoyed it. Just to see John Boyega just doing something a little bit different, seeing Jamie Foxx back after all the rumors and everything. Teyona Paris, I believe, who is actually of the Marvels fame. She's gonna be, I forget her name, Spectre, right? Or
Yes.
however you want to, depending on which character, Monica Rambeau and all that. But yeah, that movie was a lot better than I thought it would be. And then a movie that wasn't as good as I thought it would be, but I enjoyed the viewing of it, was Bird Box Barcelona.
Oh.
And I started off liking it. I think it fell apart a little bit towards the end because it was like, all right, we're trying to explain something, and then it ends up being like well, that's kind of a plot hole, and then it kind of goes against what the first movie talked about. But yeah, those would be my four.
Yeah. And I think that's like a really interesting question because for like your four favorite first time viewings can mean so many different things.
Oh yeah, yeah. There could be a
Yeah.
lot of different things. I had we talked about June, it could have been movies on Tubi. Like, there's
Right.
sometimes you have a viewing where, if it's, I always say this about horror movies. Horror movies, for the most part, aren't horror. They're comedy, and they
Right.
can be fun outings. Yeah, you might get a
Yeah.
jump scare here and there, and yeah, there are some actually scary movies. Hereditary comes to mind, but like, there's, to me, The Nun is a comedy, an absolute comedy, and it's fun. And I remember
Yeah.
being in the theaters just like laughing with the crowd about it because of how ridiculous it was. But
Yeah.
if you're, I wouldn't take offense to that. I think there are some horror directors who are starting to like that. Like, they want to make it a fun thing. And honestly, I'm here for it.
Right. Exactly. And I think you saying like Barbie and Oppenheimer like no question and it's like
Yeah.
yes because even if you aren't in love with either film, the viewing experience was so incredible and
Right.
like
Right.
so fun. So, yeah.
I also saw Oppenheimer on the one of the very, very few 70 in the theater. So I think it's only, if I'm correct, it might be at 40 or maybe 35 screenings around the world. And luckily, I live in an area where we have one. I had to travel 45 miles to get there, but I would say it was worth it.
Oh, I'm going to do that as well. And there is one here, and it was just, I think you probably also were smart and got your tickets like way in advance, because
I
for
got it
mine it
very
was like,
early.
oh,
Yeah.
sold out for weeks. So
Were you
once
trying
I
to get
like
like a what time frame were you trying to go?
I would probably go at any time. I mean, that's a tough one because it's Oppenheimer.
Mm,
So
yeah.
yeah, I would be open to trying a few different things with that one.
Yeah, I went to the
What
first
time of
showing.
day? Oh, the first showing.
The very first showing they had that day was there. And because I feel like a lot of people are gonna go at what might be a prime time for them. Everybody's prime time is a little bit different. But then you have a situation where it's like, all right, if this is sold out, then what are other times that I'm willing to take on? I feel like that's how a lot of people do movie theaters, especially if it's like a date situation or a family situation.
Yes.
Me, I am in a lucky enough position where I can go to a movie at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So
Oh,
yeah,
that
I
yeah,
try to go as early as possible.
no, that's a really interesting perspective, and I feel like you should like take notes on what it's like to constantly go that early and see what the vibe is at the theater.
Yeah, I'm usually sitting with people who are twice, if not triple my age, but hey, it's a good time.
Yeah. um, I think like this is his top 4 first time views. Um, and I think he
Breakfast
spoke a
Club's a
little
good
bit
one.
about this. He was on last week.
Mm,
I actually don't think that I have seen most of these. I've obviously seen Breakfast Club.
mhm.
Um, so I don't think I've seen any of the other ones. My David Lynch filmography is pretty low. I think I've only seen 2 of his films. So and then the other ones
I've
I'm not
only
quite sure.
seen how many of these have I've seen 2 of these. I've seen Night of Cups and Breakfast Club. Night of Cups has Christian Bale in it.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was talking about that last week. I gotta.
Oh,
Um,
and Antonio Banderas is in that as well, if I'm correct. I
oh,
believe
in
I'm
Night of
correct.
Cups.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I should check that out.
Yeah, that had a pretty good
Magnolia.
cast.
Everything he does is genius. Yeah, I mean he's such a great filmmaker. Um,
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Anna de Armas is probably the greatest example of eye candy actress where she has the skill and talent, but she isn't always put in a position to showcase that over what she looks like.
Yeah.
And you tend to notice that a lot with her. She is to me, Anna de Armas is the Jessica Alba of like today's day and age. And for
Mm,
those who were alive and like actually going to see movies during that time, you knew Jessica Alba was like the absolute it girl during that
yeah.
period of time. It was like Jessica Alba and then like Halle Berry, things like those
Yes.
types of people where the looks mattered just as much as the actual skill or lack of skill, depending on what the situation was. But
Right.
yeah, so I would agree with that. Florence is very, very talented. I don't know if she is put in the same, although I could see it. But Margot Robbie is another example of just like, especially after seeing Barbie and Harley Quinn and all that.
Yeah, I would agree definitely more with the Ana de Armas um, here. And Blonde was such a controversial movie, and the director
Mm,
was not the he did not make the best comments. So
yeah, I
I don't
saw
know if
those.
that helped her career or hurt it, but yeah, I was shocked that she was nominated for an Oscar for that film, just because of the overall like ickiness factor of that movie.
Mm,
But
that's fair.
you know, actually, Andrew, thank you so much. I had to shout him out. He is a lot of times featured on Little Platoon and Movie Cynic, and he was just on a really great live stream with another friend of the channel, Bagface, and they had a really
All
great
right, cool.
conversation regarding the box office and Barbenheimer and all that stuff, and it was a really interesting time. Everyone's just saying hi. Smaller scale, it's filmed 2 year. Okay, I am definitely behind in this chat, so I'm gonna try to like.
Well,
I was
hello
not
to
expecting it.
everybody in the chats.
Yes, hello to everyone in the chat. That's very nice of you, Franco. Thank you. Phantom Thread is underrated. I think it has to be. You have to be in the right mood to watch it. Absolutely, because it is. Whew, yeah,
That's fair.
one of
There's
the
a
great
lot
movies.
of I've found that there's a lot of movies that have that kind of feeling. You remember A24 at like the earlier periods of time? It used to be like you have to feel a certain way or be a certain way to watch them in
Oh
certain
yeah.
cases. And this was before everybody started just liking them just cuz. And they had that. What's the one movie with the goat? It had Numi Rapace in it or something like that. Like
Hmm.
I forgot what it was. Lamb, was it lamb or goat or something like that? But it was one of
Oh,
those,
did you see
and it
that?
was yeah.
I wanted to
I'm
see
that's why
that.
I'm blanking on the title. I think it was lamb,
Yeah,
but
Lamb.
yeah, and just the overall weirdness of
How
it,
was it?
and oh, it was all right. So it's not bad. I love A24 movies.
I really
I love
wanted to see
A24
it.
movies. It's different because it gets to say it gets weird would be a little bit of an understatement. It actually turns into all the things that a lot of people started talking about, all the theories and stuff like that. I don't want to spoil the end for people who may not have seen it, but
Don't
it
spoil it.
does get weird. It does get weird. If you've seen The Witch and everybody remembers from The Witch, Black Phillip, take that and blow that up, and
Okay.
that even doesn't begin to explain how weird it gets. But it's fun. But that's another one of those like you need to be in a mood or in a you need to see
Yeah.
it and to believe it and be in a mood, or else if you take like imagine taking someone on a date to that and
Oh
they're
my
not
god.
that kind of you know
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Oh
weird
my
but it's
goodness.
fun, and there's movies like that. Phantom Thread is another one. You know what movie might be like that? Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh yes, we were talking about this earlier. I could see that being an odd yeah, you have to be in the mood to watch it type of thing. Yeah.
Because I
That's
think
a
Till was like that as well, where it's like
mm,
I don't really want to see this but I gotta be you know
right. It
so
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, those are great points. Mhm. Well, John is he used to live in New York, so he would understand this as well. I always think of the one episode of Hey Arnold and Do the Right Thing.
Hey,
I don't
listen.
remember the episode of Hey Arnold, even though I was a huge Hey Arnold fan. But
Hey Arnold, where they had the heat wave and everybody, they were trying to open up the fire, whatever I forget what it's called, but
oh
then they're
yeah,
trying to
the
get water
hydrant.
and everything. Yeah, the
Yeah.
hydrant, and it was just like wildly hot, which New York has had those times. I lived in New York during their blackouts, during their blizzards, and during their heat waves, and it's but you're there now. I had to get away. Not that Maryland, DC area isn't any less humid. In fact, in some cases it's worse, but that's the weather for you.
We have
Hello.
a Hey John from Hoop and Hands. Um, the Master might be my fave. I actually forgot about the Master, and I love the Master, so I'm glad you pointed that one out.
Yeah, damn it. You do forget how much Paul Anderson movies are out there.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
I think this is referring to that question about the women who were poorly written.
that's a good one. That's a
Or
good
was
one.
that the one that's where they're section? No, this one I think is the poorly written one.
Yeah, Mary Jane and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man's probably the weakest in my opinion. She could have been used a little bit better, but who knows? That was a different time during Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Movie Cynic, thank you so much for joining us today. And the reason is because I'm not monetized yet, but I will be monetized really soon. So
Yeah, we gotta get you
thank
up
you.
there.
Yes, so thank you for asking. So that will be hopefully in the near future.
We're doing it this month. We're gonna make it happen this month.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely definitely on its way for sure. The Charles. Oh my God, yeah, that was such a great scene. She was so amazing in that. I'm pretty sure she's definitely going to be getting the
Has to,
Oscar this year.
right? I mean, she goes through a whole widening range of emotions. She's got to be there while all the negative stuff is happening. Yeah, at the same time, has his back through it all. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm blown away. I've literally I just did my Oppenheimer review, and I have to keep bringing this out for Emily Blunt in this movie. Besides all the other Oscars it's gonna get, but yeah, so good.
It'll clean up.
Amber and Invincible is an insufferable bitch, respectively. I don't think I saw that movie, to be honest. Don't tell anyone, but I literally don't think I did.
So the thing about Amber in Invincible, the show, he's talking about the show, right? Like the Amazon one. Amber is his girlfriend.
Okay.
And she is, so the thing about that makes it weird is like she's a nice person, but we lost Nerdy Film Girl. But the thing makes
I'm highlighting you for this because
you keep doing this and I always forget to do it. Anyway, the thing that makes her interesting is that she's like nice and cool and everything, but she's also supposed to be like a feminist, but she's also supposed to be, and then you feel like they tried to make certain things with like Mary Jane's character from the new Spider-Man. So Zendaya, they try to add a little element of that into her. It creates a weird, like, who is this character? But I like her character a little bit. I don't know why. I don't think she's as bad as what that character could have been. I think that's what makes it a little bit more interesting. But then again, who knows? I don't know. The thing that is also weird about her is that she, the whole thing they do with superheroes where it's like, oh, we don't want you to know the secret. And then the girlfriend or the girl or whatever, she ends up finding out the secret.
Yeah.
That I think is treated a little bit interestingly, but maybe a little bit more realistic as to how somebody might react versus how it is in usual superhero form media. So who knows?
That reminds me of the episode of Black Mirror, except it was, the oh my goodness, the documentary one.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for people in the chat.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That was
that was the one thing that bothered me about that episode. I liked everything, but I didn't think that actress needed to fall.
There was
shall we say that?
Yeah, like, did she really need to? And then
no.
That episode was weird. I guess that's Black Mirror for you, though, right? Like
I liked it. I mean,
weird.
honestly, I had like nightmares after that episode. I just kept seeing the parents in those videos, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they went there."
You kind of, yeah.
If viewers in the chat do not watch Black Mirror, just go for it. Like it's one of the most creative shows, I would say, out there. And a lot of the episodes really hit a home run, even if you don't like all of them. But like, you're not gonna. I don't think it's a waste of time. I wouldn't say that, but
no, or at the very least, you can look up like the episodes that a lot of people found great, and then kind of just watch those, because there are a lot of people who do that too, just to kind of get like a feeling of what it's about. Although it seems to have strayed away from technology, and some people are mad about that, which I understand.
Right. Well, it's like a weird there's like kind of an over compensation going on right now with that, and that's why we're getting a lot of Mary Sue's currently, and I think that is because of that.
But it's like, all right, so we get one or the other, and we don't get an actual normal human being, like a regular woman. That's why I think the Emily Blunt thing was interesting, because that was a normal woman.
Yes.
Going through what would have been considered normal at the time. And it was really, really great acting from her. And it's hard to watch somebody like, I'm going to go with the mainstream, but like a Rey, Skywalker, Palpatine, whatever you want to, or something like that, where it's like everything is just given in hand. And so what it ends up being is an overcorrection. And the overcorrection doesn't really work that well either. And that's the same thing with like, oh, we're going to take stuff away from guys. That can sometimes also be an overcorrection. Whereas reality, we should kind of try and to stay within the middle and then build a character from that. But, we're not writing in Hollywood. At least not yet.
I agree with you. And I didn't even realize this till like after I posted it. But like, obviously, like in my review of Oppenheimer, I do talk about Cillian and Robert Downey Jr. and Matt Damon. But like, I spent so much more time talking about Emily Blunt's character because it was so well written for a woman. Like, and it was so well just like so complex and like so. I mean, I could go on and on, but like exactly what you were saying. Like it was a great portrayal of a character. Absolutely. Um, yeah, okay. So actually, I wanted to bring this up. I'm glad that he said this because he kept the Paul Thomas Anderson train going. I just have a question for you. Did you see Licorice Pizza?
Oh man, no, I remember hearing about it though.
Okay, because I have a theory on this movie. A lot of people they didn't like the fact that it revolved around like a 14-year-old kid and
Yeah,
like
I
a
remember hearing
20
that.
something year old. So the movie, this is what I took out of that movie. It is so outlandish what happens in the film. And I personally felt that that was like all in the little boy's head of like like a fantasy because
Mhm.
like it gets really outrageous. It, like starting his own waterbed company and like all of this stuff that is just like that would probably never ever happen. So I kind of think that that movie is just like a 14-year-old boy's fantasy, and I don't think that it should be taken literally. You know, like
That's
there's no way
that's
that
fair.
that woman would ever be like, oh my god, we're in love now, like, oh, I found my match. Like it just did not. No. And I've been in rooms with people where they're like, oh, I can't believe they made that movie, and it's like, but I think it's his fantasy. Like I think if you take, I mean, maybe that's not how it's supposed to be interpreted, but I think that like if you interpret it like that, it makes so much more sense.
That's fair. But now you're asking a general audience to, and
Right.
that's not always easy.
Right.
So that's
That
that's
is true.
where
That
I
is
do
true.
remember the articles and stuff that came out about it, and people were up in arms, and it was a big thing. And it was also during that period of time because I think it came out right after there were some big cases about teachers and students
Oh
coming out, and
yeah.
so that also did not help things timing wise.
No.
But yeah, I'll still have to check that one out because I've been interested in that one.
Yeah, that reminds me of that SNL skit that they've done. I think it was when Pete Davidson was on, and
Mm.
they did a whole courtroom scene, and he's the student that like had an affair with his teacher, and they're like, "Well, we heard you were bullied in class." He's like, "No, man, like everyone was calling me like king and player and like all this stuff, like G and all this stuff," and like the mom, I think Kate McKinnon played his mom,
I
and
think
she's
so,
just like
yeah.
crying and all that stuff, and he keeps like flirting with the teacher, and the teacher's like winking at him in oh my, that was the funniest episode, or one of
Yeah,
the best
that
skits.
one that one will always be a weird discussion that will always result in a double standard because obviously
Yes,
for a male teacher versus it'll always just be treated differently,
yes.
and that's the way it is. And
I
so
know.
you saying like, oh, it could be an interpretation of him being a fantasy, that's probably way more realistic of what it would actually be than like, oh yeah, this is what it is. But ironically though, the people who say this is what it is, that's still based out of fantasy, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah.
um it's PTA and Nolan for me, mate. Yeah, they're fantastic
Yeah.
directors. Kitty and Oppenheimer definitely wears the pants in the relationship. I would say like yes and no. I think she definitely like puts him in his place when he needs to, like, I don't know. And she's very protective of him too. I think she is very protective.
Right. I think that showed I was talking to someone who's much older than me. He's in his 70s, if not 80s. But I think it's more of a relationship that is a product of its time. Like a
Mm,
relationship like that probably doesn't work as well today because of the advent of all the stuff we have going on, social media and things like that. Whereas back then, staying together through a lot of those hard times and stuff like that wasn't out of the ordinary. In fact, it was quite normal. And now the whole her holding him down throughout everything, that's where things get kind of interesting because it's like, oh wow, you really are holding him down when you don't have to. But her being a strong figure throughout the entirety of that movie, man, I don't know if it would be wear the pants, but she definitely had the backbone more than he did.
she did. And then I loved how they also showed how, she kind of like had this, oh, I'm going to tell them all off, like you should be telling them all off. And then when it came
Yeah.
time to her, she totally buckled because she was not used to being under that type of pressure. She was very like meek in that moment.
Yeah,
Um,
which showcases how humans are. Like,
yes,
you
yes,
know?
yes. Chef's kiss to that character writing. like 100%. Kate orders. Oh my goodness. Kal-El, thank you so much for joining us today. I always think the best horrors don't have jump scares. The best ones have insidious and creepy undertones. I mean, that's very Hitchcock. Hitchcock uses jump scares sometimes, I feel like, but a lot of it is just that eerie tone of thinking something's going to happen.
Midsummer.
Yeah.
Midsommar was
Oh,
a
yeah.
great example of that, where is there a jump? I don't think there's not one jump scare. I mean, they tried the thing when she goes to the bathroom and the whole mirror thing, but other than that, that's not even really a jump scare.
No.
That movie, and that's one of my favorite movies,
Mm.
period, let alone horror
Yes.
movies. And it's just the unsettling nervousness that you feel throughout the entire thing of like, this shouldn't be happening. You know what that movie feels like? It feels like you got invited to something and you're not supposed to be there.
Oh my God,
And
yes.
you're like looking for a way to back out, and you can't really, and you keep seeing things. You don't even really want to see them anymore. You're looking for a way out, but no one is willing to give you a ride out of there. That's what that movie felt like too. I ended up watching that movie 4 times.
That is the exact feeling. You're right. Like you're at some event or some party and like you don't know if you should leave, but you know you're not supposed to be there, or like you don't feel comfortable that you're there. Like maybe a friend brought you and they didn't know that the friend was bringing a friend or something. Like it gives you that weird, like not even cringe, but like in this awkwardness where it's like, oh yeah, I love that. Really well done. Oh my goodness. Man. Well, go to sleep.
Yeah, for
it's
real.
Totally fine.
Glad that you were able to make it out. Yes.
Yes. This is what you were saying earlier, how you go to you often see the first showing.
As much as I saw, man, I started doing that years ago during the summer because I used to live near a movie theater that would give you half off if you went.
Wow.
Obviously, this is pre-pandemic, but they'd give you half off if you went before 1 p.m. And so I would see movies for like $5, like brand new movies, which is like unheard of in today's time. But yeah, and then obviously the price is still cheaper overall than it would be for a primetime ticket. It's not as cheap as it was when I was doing that, but you just don't have to deal as much. You get up, you have breakfast, you go, you come back, you still have the day left. There's just so much of an advantage of it to me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too, because up until recently, I finally got the Regal pay once a month and you get unlimited movies. But before that, I was not. And I noticed that if you see a matinee, you're getting barely a discount anymore. It's like like nothing. And they keep raising the time. I think it's like after 11 a.m. you don't get a discount. And I remember it used to be at like till 2 or like 3.
Yeah. The pandemic kind of destroyed a lot of stuff when it came to pricing for that kind of thing, where it's like, we're just going to charge the same for the whole thing. But then I think also sometimes when something gets a little bit more popular, then they're like, oh, well, we can just charge the same. Because I think a lot more people began going to early showings, just especially the matinee showings, which is why you won't see too much of a difference anymore.
Oh. Yeah, that's true. And that's why seeing weekends like this, the past 2 weekends at the box office, I think are all positives for first. I mean, my goodness, there's a lot of money to make up from the pandemic, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And all these theaters have to renovate and get more premium screens, and it's
what is the theater experience for you? Like as it stands, when you go to the theater, are you excited to go? Is it really highly dependent on the movie when you get there? Or does it matter who the audience is? Like, what's that experience like for you?
I've honestly just I've been pretty excited to go. Maybe depending on the film. Once I found the few theaters that I really enjoy going to, I think that kind of changed everything, because there were a few AMCs that I went to in the past that I thought were like incredibly run down, and in Manhattan, and I don't know why they are run down. The Regals look gorgeous and they're keeping up on them, which is why I decided to go with Regal instead of AMC. But yeah, I don't know. I've been enjoying it. And now again with the monthly thing, it's just like, oh well, I'll just go see, another one. So I do love seeing movies in the theater in general. So
I hate seeing movies in the theater.
oh
and
no, I
and it's
understand.
it's only because all right, so I've seen, and ironically, this has been the most I've gone back to the theater this like starting this past year. And I've had good experiences, but I've had some like come on experiences. Like for
Right.
example, I saw Creed, and there were these two Instagram girls in Creed, mind you, taking pictures in the dark. And you're just
Oh, no.
kind of like, and so obviously, if you're in the dark, you need light. So they had their flashes on and everything, and they just kept taking pictures of like the meals they were ordering and stuff like in the dark during the movie. And
Oh my
like you have that situation, people start looking, you're like, oh, for what? It's one of those types of deals. Or the situation where there'll be tons of kids in there, not for a kids movie, by the way. And they'll just be in there and they'll take up all the time, or people who get drunk in the movie theater, like what happened in my John Wick screening.
Oh
And then I
no.
go home, and I've been, I saved for a big TV and got one on Black Friday, a nice Sony one. I got a nice couch and the ability to get my snacks. It starts to, and it makes me understand why there are a lot of families who've begun
Yeah.
saying no to the theaters, and why the theaters are now in realizing that, know that, you know what, maybe we should focus on the date experience rather than the everybody kind of go to the movie theater experience, even
Yeah.
more so than they used to. Because if I have kids, especially if I have more than one, or if I have more than one, yeah. But if I have more than two, I I don't know if I want to pay those prices when I could just like, let's just wait until it's on demand, and then I order it on demand for $30, and it's for all of us. I don't have to pay per ticket, and I can grab you whatever you want from the supermarket. We can popcorn, candy, whatever, and then boom, we're at home. And I can pause it, and you can
Yeah.
go to the bathroom, and so it made me this past year made me realize why a lot of people are saying no.
No, that makes sense. And I don't currently have children, and I maybe I
Me
am
either.
feeling a little bit more biased because I just got the Regal pay for a month and you get to see everything. So like maybe I'm like mentally I'm like, oh well, it seems like a great deal and all that stuff. So I might just be like under the spell of that currently. Um, but I totally understand what you're saying, and it's weird. Like sometimes an audience can make a movie and like break a movie. And I
Mhm.
will say, I when I saw Beau is Afraid, like there are comedic moments throughout the movie, even though it's like it is a pitch black comedy. Like it is
Yeah.
like you don't even know if you should laugh most of the time. People did. But this woman that was sitting next to my boyfriend and I was just like nonstop, like over the top laughing to the point where we're like, what is she doing? Like, is she trying to think that like she gets the joke and no one else does? Because like it was like everyone was like silent for most of the time. She's just going on and on and on. I'm like,
Oh,
unless she
the
was on
belt
some
out.
some some drugs or something, but like my goodness, like that was like it was so annoying. So I totally
Oh, man.
understand that. You can't choose. You can't pick and choose your audience members. I
That's
guess
the
I wish you could.
problem. You cannot. You cannot. And the theater
Yeah.
that I most likely go to, well, the theater that I go to all the time is usually, I want to say it's a 20 seater, like
No.
just two, the leather seats when like pairs, and it's only 20. They have bigger and screens and everything like that, especially when a movie first comes out. But for the most part, if I can get into that 20 seater, I'm good to go. Like
No.
I try to keep
Yeah.
it as small as possible because in my head, I believe that is less chance for anything going crazy. But yeah, like you said, you never know. Can't pick the audience.
No, you're right. Because when I saw past lives, like if you look at it when you're buying your tickets, it's like, what is this? A little box that everyone's watching it
Mhm.
in, and it was a fine viewing experience. But everyone that was there definitely wanted to be there. It was an indie film, A24 film, and we were all crying together at the end. But it
I
was a good
saw
time.
Past Lives, by the way. I
You
forgot to mention
saw
that
it?
to you. Yes, I did.
What?
Yeah.
I've been dying to talk about past lives with someone that's seen it. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I just loved that you saw both. You liked everyone. Like, you know what I mean? Like no one was
Yes.
the villain.
Right. The trailer kind of makes it.
I'm so
Oh,
sorry about that. 1 second. I'm gonna just do this. I apologize. My cat jumped up and then
I knew it was your cat. I could tell it was.
yes. You can
No,
continue though while I fix this.
I saw Past Lives, and I remember the trailer trying to make it seem like there was a villain, but ultimately, uh, I mean, he's not. Like, I think he was actually very, very reasonable in terms of like how she felt, Nora, and what everything what was happening. Now, there would be some people who would probably look at him and go, I would never, or I would never let my wife, or I would never let my husband, or something along those lines. But he was very nice about it in more ways than I thought he would be. And I think that was the most interesting thing. He's a much better character, and I think he helped that movie greatly. And I forget the actor who played him, but that was a major thing I think that worked out. But yeah, the thing between the two friends and uh, her coming from Korea and him coming later and them meeting up and the exploration, like, oh, are we going to explore this? Is this actually going to happen? It not happening, or did I make a mistake? Those kinds of questions, those kinds of answers, those are things that I think people will always ask themselves. And I know we live in a weird time with, like, manosphere and feminism and all that stuff like that, and relationships and everything like that. But those are questions that, depending on your situation, depending on who you've chosen to be with and things like that, those might come up. And when those questions come up, a lot of times you might be willing to suppress them or whatever, you just keep it moving. But what happens if that person shows up that those thoughts are about? It's a wild thing. And so I think it's very, very interesting, very, very sad, but at the same time, somewhat hopeful, if I could. And I don't know, I'll ask Nerdy Film Girl when she comes back, because the hopefulness of that movie, I think, is very understated and wouldn't be something that a lot of people would consider to be hopeful, but would be something that if you are in a relationship that's built on a high level of trust, you would find it to be hopeful. And I don't know, that's just what I believe. So who knows? We'll have to see what happens.
I'm trying to come back and oh wait, hang on. Let's see if this works. Okay. I
You're
don't know
back.
what just happened, because
Your
my
cat
camera
said,
was
I don't
doing-
like your setup. That's what it
I
was.
know. And my camera was actually going to work the entire time today because of the way I timed everything out. And of course,
Welcome to
Yeah.
pets. Pets in an apartment. That's what happens.
yep, this one.
Man, your cat might be as big as my dog.
Oh, that one's they're brothers, and one's like the runt who's really tiny, and this looks gigantic next to it.
Looks like a panther. Like
know.
it's a small panther.
Yeah. No, I did hear you the whole time, and I think again, no one's the villain. And you said, like, oh, some people will say, like, oh, I would never have done that. I loved, first of all, the dialogue is really good, and there's so many moments
Yes.
that are just so well said, like the husband and wife in bed, the bar scene with the husband
Oh,
and her.
yes. Mhm.
And he says, I'm so glad I'm glad you came, you did the right thing, like it was the right thing, like incredible.
I think, though, that film talks about communication, or it really dives into what communication can and should be, not just between you and your significant other, but you and people of your past,
Yeah.
and what that is and what that looks like. Uh and it's not something that's talked about a lot. And that movie tends to go into it a little bit more. Nora is conflicted, as anybody in that situation probably would be, because loyalty runs deep, but loyalty can easily be superseded by something past, quote unquote, past lives. It can be superseded by somebody you may have been more loyal to in the past. And so there's a lot there. I found myself, and I was talking to my fiance about it. I was talking to another person who had saw, and it's one of those movies where you just kind of talk about what the thought process is after the fact, and something
Yes.
that can be talked about a long time.
Yes, there's so much to talk about, and when the film ended, uh, besides some of the tears, just because of the way, and that movie didn't have to bring people to tears, but it was the
No, it
directing
didn't.
of how that left.
Mhm.
When they're waiting for the Uber, first of all, it was like, because again, I left the film not wanting her to choose him. Like I wanted her to stay with her husband, but I think
Right.
like it was still like people can at least relate to that feeling of that like the possibilities type of situation, and having a bond with someone and just it never worked out or something like that, you know. um
But
it's
when that Uber is coming, you're waiting for something to happen, and what you're waiting for it's not a positive thing.
right,
Or at least that's how I kind of interpret it. It's like, oh, is she? Because you've gotten to this point, you've gone through the movie, you've gone through all of that, and then you're like, she's not gonna, like, nah,
right.
there's no way, right? Like it's just, and you're there's and maybe that was a good direction of just like setting up this final scene of like maybe, but it never happens, and because it never happens, it leaves you with a should it have happened? Like it's a very it's gripping. It's more gripping than you might find.
I agree, and I felt that they kind of just wanted to also like just look at each other in person like one last
Mhm.
time because they hadn't done that in however long, you know. It was like we're not
Right.
in a screen,
Right.
we're not just on the phone. Yeah, like savoring that moment of just seeing each other. Huh,
Yeah.
hell of a movie. I don't want to ruin it for everyone, but like literally it's going to be definitely an Oscar contender, and like once it hits
Yeah.
streaming, everyone should witness it. It was just such a beautiful film. Um maybe you know what this movie is, John. If you don't, I do not.
Oh,
Barenthal. Oh, this is referring to this. I'm sorry. Best Punishers.
yeah. I saw that comment earlier, and I was yeah.
Okay.
Um, okay, so John Bernthal's the easy choice because he's the most recent, and recency bias tends to hits a lot better. And I think obviously he has the most stylized show and all of that. But Thomas Jane, his Punisher isn't it's not great. Like the movie he's in and everything like that, they're not highly rated or anything, but he plays the part really well in terms of just being, and I'm talking like for that time, I thought he did a really good job. So I ended up liking the movie. But I think a lot of people would end up choosing John just because it just had better writing, better direction, and things like that.
Well, Thomas Jane was actually good. I thought Travolta was the guy that brought that movie down.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. And that was also when they used to give like all sorts of people different kind of cameos and stuff like that. 'Cause they had like the wrestler Kevin Nash was in there,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, they had Ben Foster's in that movie as well. And so they have like these different things where this is 2003, 2004, I think. And so they have these things where it's like we were right on the cusp of getting really, really solid, not just superhero movies, but solid action movies, which is what this was supposed to be. It was missing certain things where I think the Daredevil slash Netflix, because Punisher did come to Daredevil first. I think it just worked better story wise,
Mm.
and then they were able to. And then one of the things Netflix was also really good at taking today's theme. You know what? Slight tangent. For all the stuff that everybody talks about in terms of like making something for a modern audience or a modern viewing or something like that, the Netflix Marvel show probably did the best with that. Like they took modern
Mm.
themes, put it into those, and it worked for all four shows. All right, maybe not Iron Fist, but for for Punisher, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, it worked. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's a great point. Um, I gotta. He says this to
yes.
me all the time. He like loves your Sonic in the back.
Yeah, it's always funny because like I'll have people who are like, "Oh, and all I ever see is the Sonic in your background," or every now and again if it's like showing the Squirtle. I was fortunate enough to move into a house but I do not have the comic wall or the toy wall or stuff like that that a lot of people in our space
Right.
have. Mainly because I have them. Like I have the items. I have some. I have a bunch of pops right next to me here, but furniture starts to come into play when you get a house, and of course it was gonna look kind of foolish. I'm sitting here trying to buy custom shelvings and not like a couch and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, I had some duties beforehand, but eventually this back wall, which is nice and bare, except for like my little picture on the wall back there and this old couch, but eventually it'll come into fruition. I'll have a night. Even you have a light. I don't even have a light back here.
Well, I was gonna say I relate to you because I have a studio apartment, so it's like this is it. So
Yeah,
I can't like start customizing whatever, and I don't collect that much anyway, just because of my space. But I like your background. I think it's honestly like adorable that there's a little Sonic behind you, like on your
just
shoulder
it,
at all times. So I think it
just
works.
hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. Um, this okay. So he
Mm.
lives in Scotland. Um, that's really cool. I'm sure it was not based off of a true story.
That being
I will say
said, I
that.
thought that area was incredibly beautiful in
Yeah.
terms of
Oh,
just the cinematography of it all. I have never been to Scotland. I had a chance to go to Ireland. That chance passed me by. I wish I did go. But like I think about places like that, the Isle of Man over there. Like I've been to England, but you start thinking about some of those far and away places where the world is still the world, and by that I mean we haven't gone overgrown with like cities and suburbs and all
yeah.
that stuff like that. Very, very nice. And I remember once that episode came on and they started doing some of those cinematic shots, I was like, man, this is a really, really nice looking place.
Oh, absolutely stunning. And I will agree with him. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely in my top 10, I would say, favorite Black Mirror episodes. The USS Callister. That's the one
Mhm.
with Jesse Plemons and the Star Trek
Yep.
spinoff. I love that episode. I think it's really good. I think we're
What was
getting
your
closer to
favorite
that.
what was your favorite episode in yeah, what was your favorite one of this newish season, this most
I've
recent
still only
season?
watched 2. I've only
Oh,
watched 2
have
of
you?
them. Yes, I've been busy watching other things, and I'm like, because I kind of want to do a Black Mirror video, and then
Mhm.
I thought I was gonna do like 2 episodes at a time, but it's kind of like everyone's watched all of them at this point. So I think that my best bet is just to like watch the full season and then do a video on the whole thing. But I was
Yep.
initially like not months ago, weeks ago, was gonna start doing 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6. So, but yeah. But I think I want to watch. I really do love that series in general. So
I mean, so you saw Joan is Awful and Locke, right?
yes.
So I know everybody talks about the Joan is Awful. I didn't like that one as much.
Hmm.
I thought it wasn't. I don't know. Like it was trippy and fourth wallish and had a lot in it. And I love all the people in there. Obviously, Selma Hayek, but like I thought I don't know. I remember finding out that I didn't like that one as much. Whereas I liked, and you'll have yet to see it, but you'll see it. I like Demon 79 a lot better. And that one is also kind of trippy, kind of ridiculous, but there was a level of fun to that one that I liked, I think. And I think a lot of people generally don't like that one.
How did you find the Aaron Paul one? I haven't seen it yet.
The Aaron Paul one is very similar to okay, so the Aaron Paul one is good. It's
Okay.
really good. But it reminded me of this other there's a collection, an anthology on Amazon. And I think it's called Electric Sheep or Electric Dreams or something like that. It's been a while since I saw it, but there's a very, very similar episode. So as soon as that one came on, I knew exactly where it was going. Right up
Oh,
until the last minute where something happens and
really?
you're like, sheesh, what was the point of that? So like for the most part, you know where it's going, but then they and I think they even knew that you would know where it's going, and then they just flip it right on you right at the very end. And that was where it gets kind of ridiculous. And some people will hate that ending, and some people like that ending.
Okay. I feel like a film that reminds me of that type of scenario is um Sorry to Bother You. I think that's what it's
Mhm.
called. Because maybe I'm off on this, but like that type of ending was like I really like that movie, but like I no one saw that ending coming of that movie at all, and it was like it took it to a totally
Yeah.
outrageous place where you thought
Well,
you
they
knew what
play
was
it
going.
serious though.
Yes.
So like they played in Sorry to Bother You, they played serious, but then it turns into like a big, kind of like a jokey mess. Here,
Right.
they played serious the entire way through.
Oh wow.
Like no jokes, no nothing. Like this is what it is. This is the fallout because of this decision. Like I said, I forgot the show, but there is well, I know that the show's called Electric Dreams, but I forgot which episode it was. But it's an episode with Bryan Cranston, and he is basically playing an alien. I'm not going to spoil it too much. I'll just say he's playing an alien, or an alien takes over his body, and his wife is involved, and his wife ends up loving the alien more than she loved her husband. And I'll just leave it at that. But
Wow.
there's reasons why that happens. And
Is it
this is
like a
very
No, I was gonna say ask
no, no,
you, is it like a commentary on like polyamorous relationships?
no, but you would
Oh.
think it is.
Okay.
And you would think this one is too. Neither
Right.
one of them is a commentary on that. I would say more so it's a commentary on how we treat each other and how we don't communicate when we getting
Mm.
into a long-standing upscale marriage-ish type relationship. And this one in Black Mirror does the exact same thing, but it does it slightly differently. But I just remember thinking about that the moment I saw. I was like, "Oh, this is very, very similar." And if you haven't seen Electric Dreams, I would recommend. Maybe you may not want to see all of them, but there are some really good episodes of that on Amazon Prime.
Okay. Yeah, no, I love
Yeah.
recommendations like that because that's right up my alley. We only have a couple of minutes left, so I'm gonna just speed through these briefly. Even though I could talk to you about Black Mirror all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt is my favorite female actress right now.
I would say this. I like to give this advice to a lot of people too. Even if people have no interest in watching the Oscars, I do this every year. I like to watch every Best Picture nominated movie before the
Mhm.
Oscars. And it kind of like forces you to watch something that you might not necessarily see. Like like Movie Cynic loves Paul Thomas Anderson, so I'm sure he'll get around to this. But I really think like that's definitely why I saw it when I did. And I think it's like a kind of like a fun thing to do. It's like, oh, once the nominations are out, like let me just check them off. If
Yeah.
you're really into movies, I think it's a fun thing.
Yeah. And him and myself, I'll have to watch it as well.
Oh, yes. Bradley Cooper is really good in it, by the way, in Licorice Pizza. And
Okay.
I get why he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. He's a very small part, but what he does for that really small amount of time is really fun.
Mhm.
I wouldn't, and I'm not saying Licorice Pizza is like in my top 5 Wes Anderson. Sorry, I keep saying Wes Anderson. Paul Thomas Anderson
Paul
films.
Thomas.
I've been talking about Asteroid City so much that I keep saying Wes Anderson. But anyway, it might be a little of a weaker film in my opinion of his, but
Mhm.
it's still it's a fun movie, and it's Philip Seymour Hoffman's son is actually the main kid in
Oh,
it. Yeah, so that was
okay.
crazy to see. Yeah.
Interesting.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Caveman Movies and More. Y'all have good chemistry. Combo flows easy. Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, we've
Yes.
been having a lot of practice because we film a lot together. So that's probably
Yes.
why. Kung Fu Panda and probably Shrek too. Well, I love your thumbnail. I love Kenan Thompson so much.
I love Kung Fu Panda as well.
Perfect. Yeah, that brought a big smile to both of our faces. Oh my goodness. Yeah, probably. My cat eats everything, so most likely, yes. Greetings from Ohio, history and headlines. We are totally getting to like tons of Black Mirror discussions here. I'm sorry, Punisher conversations. Rorschach. The only Rorschach I know of, but I'm not as familiar with Punisher stuff as you are, and I don't know what Rorschach technically is. The only Rorschach I know is from The Watchmen. So
Yes.
I don't know.
That's
If
the
you
only
have
one,
any
unless
idea.
he's talking about the very popular Bollywood movie, which I don't think it is. Yes.
So you saw that?
Yeah. Yes. That was my favorite. I think it's trippy. It's weird. And I thought it did a really good job. Yeah, that kind of goes without saying.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Great stream again. Thank you so much. I want to thank John for being here. I had such a great time having you on. He's
Yeah,
putting
of
out
course.
so much great content, brand versus demand, and like so many really insightful things when it comes to marketing and audience perspectives and what we think we're getting as far as and what Hollywood thinks they're giving us. And I mean, really check out his channel, subscribe, like. He's such a great person to follow and learn from, which is why I love having him on this stream. So thank you so much for showing up today.
Of course, much
And
appreciated.
I'm sure I'll see you soon on. Well, we'll be both be on Bone Bridger's live stream on Thursday. It starts at 11:30. I usually hop on around 12:30. And those two gentlemen take the lead, love in the most lovely way possible. But thank you
Until you
so
bring
much
some
again.
class to it.
Well, I literally, while I'm like, before I join you guys, I have you guys on a lot of times, so I like to hear what you guys are talking about before I come on. But
It's
anyway.
all foolishness before you come on, but yes.
No. Well, thank you so much again, and we'll see everyone next week.